to pray Zuhur instead of, we forgot to go and pray Asr instead of Zuhur. Inshallah, I hope by the end of this course, 2-day course, you continue to be happy. But I'd like you to help me because the topic I will be discussing is living with the ego. And the moment you see me speaking very fast, the moment you see my ego, pushing me to speak very fast, please call me back. Because, ego is something you find difficult to control. You don't know the moment when ego is setting. It's like slumber. When you want to sleep, you just lie down. You don't know when you are carried away. So please remind me, anytime you see my ego in action, just call me back. The topic of ego that we will be looking at reminds me of something. You have to be very, very careful with primary school students. I used to live with one of my uncles. And you all know this program called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? In Nigeria, they used to show it on Friday night. So I'll sit with my uncle, together with the family. And when they ask a question, sometimes, most of the times I will get the answer. But there's this little boy, and my uncle will praise me in front of the family, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the know-all, But one day, when we were watching this, the dad praised me, and the following day, I had to be alone at home with one of his kids. So we were watching one documentary on animals, and the boy was in primary school, year 4, and they showed an animal, and he was asking me, what is the name of this animal? I'm like, wow, I don't know. And he said, but aren't you in the university? Why does my uncle always praise you? And at that moment, I started feeling, wow, I have to be very, very careful in this house. I don't know, this boy has been looking at me. And I used to feel good anytime they praise me. Yeah, I know everything, or almost everything. Only to see one little kid, I had finished my university, he's still in school starting, reminding me that, look, you don't know everything. You don't even know the name of this animal. So this is just to tell us that sometimes we feel very high, we feel on top of the world. But, and that makes us forget that وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ, above all knowledgeable person, there is somebody that still knows. Whatever level of intelligence you have reached, whatever level of professionalism you have reached, somebody is always above you. So you don't stop learning, and you don't think or start feeling that you are the alpha and omega of it. So inshallah, what we'll be going through is the overview is here. We'll look at what is ego, look at some key Quranic examples of ego, and we'll look at the ego. Is it a gift or a liability? Look at the role of ego, and we also look at whether ego is a positive motivator or not. And this point is very, very important. We look at the problems of ego and how much ego do you have. Symptoms of untamed ego and what can we do about these symptoms? The moment you start seeing the symptoms of ego, what can you do about them? So I'll be asking some questions, and I'd like us to be part of this session. So I won't be the only one talking. From time to time, I'll be putting some questions. And to start with, what words, the moment you hear or see the word ego, what comes to your mind? What other words come to your mind? Arrogant? Pardon? Self-centered? Overconfidence? Pardon? Stubborn? Proud? Conscience? Annoying? More? Never wrong? Yeah, never wrong. Feel holier. Yeah, feel holier. You know, some people have on their imanometer. You know imanometer? They are always on top. You know, they never come down. So they are always weighing some other people's iman. Your iman is weak. It's low. As if they are, you know, they they are inventors of, and that's one of the, most innovative or creative efforts of some Muslims today. You know, they innovated the imanometer to measure the imans of people. I'd like to tell you, don't be part of those who use that. You can use your speedometer, you can use the thermometer, but never venture into a manometer. So it's only Allah that has that. People mention, the moment they hear ego, what comes to people's mind? Overconfidence, proud, always right, never wrong. And yeah, these are some of the things, that are associated with ego. Now, I'd like to ask you, do you have ego?
Yes.
So, all of us here have ego? Okay, you don't have ego, right? You have? I want somebody that doesn't have ego. Okay. And it means we're on the right way. Because the moment you ask somebody, the moment somebody tells you that, I'm very humble, I'm kind, I'm a kind person. That's why I'm not talking to him. If not, he should know that person has a problem. Somebody tells you, I don't have ego. Alhamdulillah. One thing I don't have. One thing with me is I don't have ego. And that statement alone is a show, an expression of ego. And you have to be very, very careful. I'd like to tell you a very short story. It's a story of a lady. She wanted to travel. So she went to the airport, but because the flight was delayed a bit, so she bought some cookies. She bought a magazine and sat down. And she was waiting for the flight until came the time when the passengers were to go on board. But before then, while she was, after buying her cookie, she was sitting down somewhere. And where she was sitting, there was one young man sitting down there also. The guy took one cookie, he started eating. And this lady was very angry. Look at this guy. She was telling herself, look at this guy. He didn't even ask for permission. He just took the cookie and started eating. So when he took one, she took one also because she didn't want him to finish it. So she took one also. He took one again, and the moment he takes one, she boils up. What is it? But she didn't want to make a scene at the airport. But she keeps on getting seriously angry. He will take, she will take, because and she didn't want him to feel like, look at this woman, I'm just assisting her to eat her thing and she's just taking it away. So she left it. But she was thinking that at least courtesy will demand that he asked. But he didn't ask. So he will take again. And immediately when she takes one, he will take one. She takes one, he will take one. Until it remained one. And this guy, he decided to pick the remaining one, cut it into two, and leave one. And he took that half. And he was smiling at her. Every time he will smile at her. And look at him, he's even smiling. She gets more hungry. He's even smiling at me. I didn't even invite him. And when it was time for boarding, she just stood up and went in, angry. She sat down on the plane and she wanted to continue reading her magazine. And decided to pick her glasses to read the magazine. When she was opening her bag, she saw the cookies which she bought in the bag. She was actually eating the cookie of the other man. And the more she was eating and he was eating, she was feeling frustrated, angry at him. I didn't invite him. He wasn't. Only, she thought that it was the one she bought that she was eating. But she was eating somebody else's food, and she was angry with him eating his food. And she said, oh, I didn't say that. So, sometimes, how many, put yourself in that situation. How many, has anybody been in this kind of situation before? Yeah, no, not necessarily cookies. This is just to explain. Yeah, because sometimes we do things, we are the ones that are wrong, but we think the other person is the wrong person. Why? Why is that? It's because sometimes we think only about ourselves. We forget about other people. How would you define ego? Everything? Everything evolves from me. Okay, evolves around me. So if if it is not about me, then forget about it. No. If it is not about me, just forget about it. The me-centered. That's what I call the me first or me attitude. It's only me. And this, it is expressed in so many ways. There's one little boy. He was waiting for his dad to come from work. So he was waiting at the door. When the dad appeared, he told the dad. The dad was, tired. And when he was coming, he saw the boy. What are you doing here? He said, welcome, Daddy. But leave the road, let me enter. He said, no, not yet. What's wrong? He said, I want to ask you a question. He says, okay. How much do you make per hour? And that's it. What's your problem? What concerns you about that? I just want to know. He said, I make $20 per hour. Okay. He said, Dad, can you lend me $10? Is that the reason why you want to know how much I earn per hour? Yeah, go away. He drove him away, and the boy, out of frustration, went to his room, lie down. And later on, when the dad calmed down, he felt he was rude to the child. And he went to meet him in the room, knock, knock. opened and saw the child lying down. So he met the child. Oh, sorry, boy, I feel I was not good to you. So here is the $10. So when he gave the child the $10, he collected it and he lifted up his pillow. And you could see some other amounts of money there. And the dad was angry again. So if you have money, why are you asking for more? He said, I didn't have enough, so I needed to add more to it. So that's why I wanted you to lend me $10. He said, now I have enough. So the dad was asking, so what do you want to do with this money? He said, yeah, I didn't have enough money before, now I have enough. And I wanted to know if I can buy just 1 hour of your time. Because he didn't have, he had $10 before, he borrowed $10 from his dad. And because his dad makes 1 hour per $20 per hour, so he wanted to borrow just, he wanted to buy just 1 hour of his dad's time. Now, what is the essence of all this? You know, sometimes we just think about ourselves. We forget about others. You know, in the family, in the place of work, we forget about our children. We are always thinking about the next meeting, the next outing, the next restaurant, the next appointment. But we forget about people at home. Sometimes we forget about our colleague. You travel, you go somewhere. You know, somebody has been helping you do some of your work while you were not around, even though you didn't tell him to do it. When you come back, you know, no words of appreciation, no, this is a small token gift from where I went to. So we forget about people. It's only about us we think of. And that is very dangerous. Because the more we are we-centered, the more we forget about our responsibilities towards other people. The other side of ego is also the I am better than you or than somebody attitude. No. And when you look at Shaitan, that was what earned him, you know, the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala up till the end of the world. You know, why? Because he was thinking he was better than Adam alayhi salam. And even though he had knowledge, all the angels, you know, looked up unto him. This is our leader. Unfortunately, you know, that arrogance, and that's what always happens when you think. The moment you start thinking you are better than somebody else, arrogance creeps in, envy creeps in, and some other evils also. That's why at every point in our life, we need to always check ourselves. This attitude of mine, what is it exhibiting? The way I spoke to this person, what is the underlying? Because there is always an underlying idea behind everything we do. So what is the underlying attitude behind this outward attitude you have? The way you speak to somebody, the way you relate with other people. What is underlying those relationships? Is it I'm better than him attitude? I can speak better than him? Or is it no, if I can't get anything from this, then forget about it? So it's very important. These are things that we always must be looking out for in our relationship with people, you know, in the family and even outside. One of the way, you know, just the pound of milk is just a parable. There was this king, you know, because if you think you are better than somebody, you will always see some other people that are better than you. And this is one moral lesson where a king decided, you know, out of nowhere, just came out and said he wanted a pound of milk for his people, you know, in his kingdom. And he told all the citizens of his kingdom, his subject, that everybody, in order for everybody to enjoy a pound of milk, everybody should pour a cup of milk into the pond. And people were doing it. But there was this guy, he decided, no, he will not do that. That's all these stupid people. Why will he follow? Why will the king say that they should pour milk into the pond? That what he will do, he will go with a cup of water. But he will go at night, where nobody will see his cup. So, he went at night, and he poured his water there. He didn't look into the pond, and went back. The next day, he went to the pond to go and see what is happening. Because if everybody poured milk there, it will be a pound of milk. And his water, nobody will know it was water he poured there. So he went there the next day, and to his surprise, everybody was thinking like him. Everybody poured water into the pond. So there was no mix. So he thought he was smarter. But he eventually discovered that he was as stupid as other people. How often in our life we behave like this? How often in our life we feel we are smarter than other people? How often in our life, these people that intentionally evade tax. Now, let me just evade it. Now, imagine everybody says, no, they are not going to pay tax. What will happen? There are things that we have to do collectively. There are things that is meant for everybody to do. But if somebody among the collectivity decides, no, I'm not going to do this, he is undermining the progress of others. And usually, this comes out of that attitude that I'm better than others, I'm smarter than they are. No.
How about if we feel better than unbelievers?
How about, the sister is asking, how about we feel better than the unbelievers? We have to be very, very careful. We have to be very, very careful. Because sometimes we see a non-believer and we just start judging him. How he doesn't believe in Allah, I'm better than him. But in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he may be better than us. And because he's still in this world, he's not dead. He's still alive. There is a story of two brothers from, he said brothers, and I flowed with him. Actually, they are Bani Israel. You can call them brothers from Bani Israel. Two of them, one was very pious, religious, and the other one was not religious. And this other one will be telling him, you will enter hell. You will enter Jahannam if you die. At the end of the day, the Prophet ﷺ was saying, this was reported by Abu Huraira. He said, when they got to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah was telling the other one, who are you to restrict my rahmah, my mercy? And my mercy encompasses everything. And because of that, Allah said, for restricting His own mercy, he should go to hell and the other one should go to Jannah. It is in the hands of Allah. Ours is to judge people based on their character, based on what they are doing. Whenever it comes to who is a true believer, whenever it comes to belief in God, leave that to Allah. You believe in Allah. He who says he doesn't want to believe in Allah, leave him alone and judge him based on his righteous actions. If he's doing good, relate with him on that term. If he's not doing good, relate with him on that term. But don't judge him that he is going to enter hell. The Prophet ﷺ said, some people, It is, some people will be born Muslims. They will grow up Muslim, but they will end up as a kafir. Some will be born kafir. They will grow up as kafir, and they will die as Muslims. Some will be born Muslim, grow up Muslim, and die as Muslim. And some will be born kafir, grow up as kafir, and die as kafir. So it's in the hand of Allah. Who knows of the so many people that pass away? Who knows whom at the point of death Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accepted? He may not be a good person, but at that point when he was about leaving the world, maybe something happened, maybe he did something, and because of just that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides, yeah, this one is going to Jannah. No. It's like, okay, maybe tomorrow we'll discuss about that, inshallah. Ego can lead to arrogance, and arrogance, according to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, forgive this, is refusal of truth and looking down on people. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he who has an atom weight of arrogance in his heart will not enter Jannah, will not enter paradise. And somebody asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, oh Prophet, if one of us likes to dress well, neat, and wear good shoes, is that arrogance? The Prophet said, no, that's not arrogance. Arrogance is refusal of truth and looking down upon people. You know the truth, but you don't want to accept it. And you refuse, you decide to look down on people, maybe because of the way they are dressing, maybe because you're a professor, maybe because you are in the university, somebody is in secondary school. You don't look at the value of people. You look at them based on the social status. That's how you decide. That's how you differentiate between people. If that is how you do, then that's a problem. You look at people, gauge people based on their value. What value do they have? There is one adage in my language that says, one who has never been to the other people's farm will always claim that his parents' farm is the biggest. Because you've never been to other places. My country is the best country. I have the best this, I have the best that. That's because you've never seen other people's own. The moment you see other people's own, you say, wow, that one, it's like it beats my own. And that's why, no matter how knowledgeable you are, always know, this is the peak of my own. It may be the beginning of some other people's. And that's why we have to be open. You don't say, I'm in the university, I'm a lecturer, you're a student just starting. So you can't teach me anything. And the world in which we are living today, nobody has monotony of knowledge. And no matter the level, because, there's open knowledge today. You go online, everybody can access whatever they want. And it depends on how you can manipulate the knowledge you have. How you can put it to practice today. Some people, unfortunately, are like tape recorder. Some memorize the whole Quran, but when it comes to using it, he doesn't know how to use it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just trying to say, because you see, some people, they use that to differentiate between other people. Tell you, did he memorize the Quran? No, forget about him. No, they start discriminating based on that. But we have so many people that have not memorized the Quran that are very useful for Islam. We have so many people that didn't go to university that are very useful for our communities. When you look at people that clear rubbishes for us in our society, a lot of us look down upon them. What's the job they are doing? But if they stop clearing our rubbishes, what will happen in our society? If those people that clear refuse, they decide for 1 month to go on strike, what will happen? But how much do we pay them? How do we look upon them? No, we just look down on them, all this and that. When we go and look at the Quran, there are 3 very useful examples in the Quran. We read about them every time. But there is something I want us to bring out from this. Why? I mean, what was the problem of shaitan? Arrogance, superiority, superiority complex, that I am better than him. So every time in our life, Allah asked him to bow down for Adam alayhi salam, and he refused. Adam you just created this guy. I've been there for long. He's a newcomer, and you want me to bow down for him? You created him from clay, and you know where you created me from. I can't bow down for him. I'm more powerful than him. I'm knowledgeable. I have this, I have that. And because of that, he refused to bow down for Adam alayhi salam. He was claiming superiority. He's superior to Adam. Wherever we are, sometimes back at home, some of the elderly people, when you try to explain, maybe you are in the mosque, and somebody is doing something that you feel, this is not correct. You want to explain to him that, look, this is the position of Islam on this. Say, who are you? They had not born your mom, when I have been practicing Islam. When were you born that you want to teach me Islam? Is Islam known by age? Is it age that determines whether somebody knows Islam or not? That you are older than somebody, does it mean he can't understand some areas, some aspect of Islam better than you? So, that's superiority complex. Sometimes we look at, okay, I'm better than you, I'm superior to you. Sometimes, same thing happens in our companies, your places of work. And somebody looks down upon other people because he's the boss. He makes any decision he wants to make. And nobody can challenge him. Nobody has better decision other than him. The same thing with Qarun. Qarun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about him in Surah Al-Qisas. He says, he was one of the followers of Musa alayhi salam. And he was very poor. Some say that he used to take care of the place of worship during the time of Musa alayhi salam. And he was very poor. And he was always asking Musa alayhi salam to help tell Allah to empower him. To give him high status. And Allah accepted his prayer. He became very rich. So much rich that Allah says in the Quran that his wealth, if you put it in a container and you ask, the strongest people in the world to come and carry it, they will not be able to carry it. And if they are, they will carry it with, not with problems. They will find it difficult to carry. That's how much he was rich then. But his people were telling him, he started misbehaving, and they will tell him, look, لا تفرح إن الله لا يحب الفرحين. Do not be overjoyous, because Allah don't like those who are overjoyous. And he didn't listen to them. And he says, إنما أوتيته على علم عندي. Whatever I earned it based on my knowledge. It's not Allah that gave me. He was feeling kind of independence. That whatever he wants, he doesn't need Allah. No, he's self-sufficient. He can do whatever he wants. He can get whatever he wants. And because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَخَسَفْنَا بِهِ وَبِدَهْرِهِ الْأَرْضَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we caused the earth to swallow him and his wealth. He was swallowed. Now, most of the time, I want us to always remember this. Sometimes we always think also that we are independent. I don't need other people to do this. And the moment we start thinking like that, the moment you start thinking you are superior to other people, the moment you start thinking you are better than other people, the moment you start thinking that you don't need other people, then you have a problem. Hey, mashallah, I don't need to attend that lecture. No, I have a pure heart. And you know that you are having problem at that time. No, you have to be very, very careful. And Fir'aun also, he was claiming godhood, that he was the God. Sometimes we always claim that we are God also. We think. It's just that we don't try to think deeper on some of our actions. And this is usually with experts. Apart from me, nobody knows this. I am the only person that knows it. And this is a problem. And it makes it very difficult for you to learn from others. So, very important, always think any action you are taking, gauge them on this: superiority, independence, and godhood. Are you saying no other person can do this? Are you saying you don't need anybody to do something? Even in your relationship at home, in the family. And some say, I don't need my parents. Like in Nigeria, when some people are in school and their parent comes to visit them, others starts making jest of them. Look at mommy's child, daddy's child. They come all the way to come and visit you. And it means you are, they call some people ajabotan. When you say, it means spoiled child. A spoiled child. Your dad has to come all over, to the university here to come and visit you. And they start feeling ashamed, And some other time when their parents are coming, when they return home, you just go and rake on them. Don't come and visit me again. It's not. He doesn't need them. He doesn't need their assistance. And they are trying to show him love, but he tries to, because of other people, what other people will say, he doesn't want them to come and visit him. They will say, you are too dependent on your parents. Now, when we were mentioning ego, when I said, what words flash in your head when you hear or when you see the word ego? Most of the things we were mentioning were negative. Stubborn, arrogance, never wrong. But sometimes ego can be useful. The ego is like a gift. It's like a horse, a wild horse. If you are able to tame it, you will be able to use it for good. But if you can't tame it, it will overcome you. So, you can tame ego. You can use it for good. Now, if I may ask a question, is being confident bad? Is it good? Being confident, is it good or bad? Can confidence lead to problem? Being confident, can it lead to problem? It can lead to overconfidence. So, it is how not to allow your ego, your confidence, to become overconfidence that you have to work on. It is not being confident. So, which means that sometimes ego is good. If somebody cannot be angry, for example, we have somebody, Allah has removed anger in us. Is that good for us? That Allah removes anger from us, that you can never get angry. Is it good for us? No. Why? I thought you would say yes. Why? Okay. We should be angry sometimes because of some things that happen. Is that true? Okay. So we'll get to that, inshallah. Now, ego has a role to play in our life and in whatever we are doing. Ego is neither bad nor good. It depends on how you use it. Because ego is associated with self-interest, people usually, associate it with bad. They will say, no, it's bad, it's not good. Why? Because most of the time when we talk about ego, we relate it to self-interest. But the Prophet ﷺ, he says, I am a human being and I become angry like you. No. But when you look at when the Prophet ﷺ gets angry, when is it? It's when somebody does something wrong. When somebody does something wrong, or when somebody is misbehaving, sometimes you will see his face will redden. So there are times when you can use anger. Because if we are devoid of anger, it will be very difficult for us to maintain justice sometimes. Because you see somebody doing wrong, you find it very difficult to go and fight him. Why? Because you are not angry. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets angry also with people. That's why I say you have to fear the wrath of Allah, the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Can you see Prophet also have ego?
The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everybody has ego as human being. It's how to balance it. No, it's balancing it that is most important. There is nobody that doesn't have ego. So, now, anger is an expression of ego. It is also the instrument that protects the ego when controlled. If you're able to control your ego, you are angry, you see somebody unjustly beating, two people, one is older than the other, and he's cheating the other one. And you are there looking. If you can't get angry, it will be very difficult for you to go to the rescue of the other. So it's anger that will fuel that. It will provoke you to go and respond to this person. So sometimes anger can be good. That's why Imam al-Ghazali was saying that anger is like the police of the ego. When the ego is when the ego is being threatened, then anger comes in. It tries, somebody just gets, if you want to humiliate somebody, because if you are humiliating somebody, it's not the body you are humiliating, it's the ego you are trying to humiliate. So the anger will come. He wants to defend his ego. And anger is only useful when, it's acceptable only at the right time, in the right place, and for the right reason, and with the right intensity. Too much anger, no. You have to balance it. So, and that's what Imam Ghazali said. You have to balance it. Too much of it is dangerous because you will overreact. So when a child does something wrong, for example, because there are times you have to know when to be angry and when not to be angry. There are times when, if you have a child that breaks a cup, for example, you have parents, they will start shouting at the child, and later they just cool down, they don't even know. I mean, this is normal thing. Like my uncle, for example, if one of his child breaks a plate, a ceramic plate or a cup, he will start shouting at them, scolding them, insulting them. But sometimes he breaks cups himself. And then when he breaks it, everybody starts looking at each other. There was a time when one of his sons was telling me, but look at him. He broke it, he didn't insult himself. I'm stupid, I'm mad, this. He will not insult himself.
From his side.
But
will insult himself from his side.
no. When the uncle breaks something, when the child breaks something, the father will insult him. Will scold him, shout at him. But when the uncle breaks, nothing happens. It's as if nothing happened. Then the child was telling me, no, he didn't insult himself, he didn't scold himself. Why? Because it is that me center. If I do something wrong, no problem. If somebody else does it, there is a problem. And that's when you have to start checking your ego. Anything you do, what is coming in? Is it the me-centeredness that is coming, I alone, or me that is coming in, or I am better than others? You always have to check that. Or I am independent of others. I'm superior to others. Others can be blamed. I can be blamed. I should not be blamed. Others should be blamed. So we always have to look at that. We always have to check that. What is it that if somebody does, you will blame him, but if you do, you will not be blamed? You will feel as if nothing happened. These kind of things happen. We always blame our children for breaking things, but we don't blame ourselves for doing that. Sometimes ego is good. It acts as motivators. It's there to motivate people. You want somebody to do something, you want to motivate him, you try to boost his ego a bit. And that's why during one of the battle of Uhud, one of the Sahaba, Abu Dujana, he went to meet the Prophet ﷺ to bless his sword. And the Prophet ﷺ blessed it and gave it to him. He was tying something on his head, and he collected it, the sword, and he was moving like this. And the Prophet ﷺ was just looking at him and smiling, that this kind of work is not good. It's only in this kind of situation that it is allowed. Why? Because he was doing that, he was strutting around, just to motivate himself and to motivate others. So at that point in time, it was acceptable. It was just to motivate him. And when you look at it, why will you, during Ramadan, decide not to eat when nobody is there to see you? You're in your room, nobody is there, you have a good nasi lemak there, or you even have an ikan bakar somewhere there. Instead of waiting till what time do you break fast here? 7. So instead of waiting till 7, you are feeling the pang of hunger, at around 6:30. What's the difference between 6:30 and 7? Why not just go and get your ikan bakar and just deal with it? But you feel, no, I should not do it. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees you, isn't it? And so what? If Allah sees you, you don't want to be punished. And because you are trying to protect your ego. Because it is the ego that is afraid. I don't want to end up in Jahannam. I don't want to be punished. When somebody, he sees something, I can steal this, but when he looks at it, he sees one CCTV appliance somewhere, he says, no. But if he steals it and runs away, nobody will follow him. But why is he not doing that? He's trying to protect his ego. Somebody will be somewhere and he will see something and say, no, I can't do this. I can't. It's too belittling of me. Why? It's the ego that is talking. Things you can't do. Because of your ego. The level I am, I should not be doing these kind of things. So, ego can be useful fi sabilillah. It can be very useful fi sabilillah. If you manage it, it can be useful. If you see somebody, suffering, it's your ego that will tell you, I should help this person. Why? Because, it's like tied to your conscience. It will tell you, it's not good of a Muslim to see something wrong and just pass by. So it will push you to want to help somebody. The kind of things when sometimes you see something wrong that can harm people, you just pass it by. And when you pass it by, maybe when you are passing by, you just feel somebody will do it. And later on you start, I should have done this. Why didn't I do it? You start feeling kind of remorse. It's the ego that is talking. So sometimes ego can be positive. It pushes you to do, motivates you to do good things. And when you look at, when you try to, a hen with some of its hen and its cheek, when you want to touch the cheek of the hen, what happens? It will attack, it will charge at you. What do you think is, ordinarily, if you run after a hen, what will happen? It will run away. But why is it that at that time it is charging at you? Protection, exactly. So sometimes that's what the ego does. When you run after somebody, there's a case where a thief, he stole something, And he was running. So people were running after him. A mob, they were running after him. When he got somewhere, he was tired. And he just turned back at the people. And he started chasing them. And when he turned back, in fact, the fact that this guy turned back, faced us, it means that, he's ready to do anything. So when he got somewhere, he was tired. He just went, look, I can't continue like this. He just turned back. And when he turned back, the people stopped. What now? He started running towards them, and they started running away also. Now, he felt, hey, I have to protect myself. His ego was telling him, no, enough of this. If they will kill me, let them kill me, but I will have to defend myself. And he has to fight back. So sometimes ego, but used in the positive sense, sometimes it helps us a lot. To achieve a lot. Sometimes you're a student, you're in school, you know that if I don't study, I will fail. And if I fail, it's shame on me. And because of that, you don't want people to say, you just wasted money. You don't want people to say that. You don't want your parent to not be happy with you. And you start studying very hard. It's the ego. You don't want to be humiliated. It forces you to put more effort. You want to sleep. You have exams. The fear of failure. Your ego is afraid of failure. So the fear of failure is time. You want to watch a movie, you want to sleep, you want to read. What do I do? Let me just go for this first. After that, I can do other one.
How about a person who uses ego to protect the sanctity of Islam? So-called
To protect
the sanctity of Islam.
the sanctity of Islam. It's part of what I've been trying to explain. That sometimes ego can be used positively. Like when you look at, when somebody say, I'm a patriot, they go for war. Why? Because our country is a big country. I'm a patriot. I have to fight to death. And it's ego that is talking. He wants to protect something. He wants to defend his country. So a person can do that for Islam also. Now, I'm a Muslim. I have to protect my religion. I have to protect my deen. There's no problem with that.
How about
It's
the victim, for example, Malala, the Afghan girl who has been shot because she wanted to go to school.
I will come to that. I've been giving me signal of time. So, but I will come to that. It's one of the things I will try and touch, inshallah. So, okay. Wanted to do a little exercise here, but time. Now, the problem of ego, sometimes the ego most of the time, because we don't manage it, it ends up in problems. So what's the problem of ego? Most people do not know when ego has taken over because they slip into it like sleep. Or like the twilight into the darkness of the night. Many people, you just see that, you are just finding yourself, misbehaving. You don't know why, And one of the problems also is that sometimes when you are confident and everybody say, this person is a confident person, or you are talented, everybody knows you are talented. But the problem is, when you pass the limit, you never know. You don't know you are being overconfident, but other people sees it. Other people see it. This person is behaving overconfident, But you don't know. Everybody say I'm confident, and you think you are confident, but you don't know you are becoming overconfident, and that's becoming a problem. And the moment you start becoming overconfident, you stop looking at problems as problems. I can do this. And I ask you, can you do this? Yes, I can do it. And you start going into it without even thinking. So that's why our talents take on a slightly different appearance. But we notice, sometimes we find it difficult to notice. If you are talented, everybody knows you are talented, you are good. But because everybody thinks you are talented, you have confidence, you are diplomatic, you're a good diplomat, you end up creating more problems because you think you are talented, you are confident, and your confidence makes you become reckless. You don't take things, you don't study things very well. I can pass this exam. if it is this topic, don't worry, I know it. No, you don't want to study it into detail. You don't want to learn new things. And because you don't want to learn new things are coming up and you don't know about it. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran, قُلْ هَلْ نُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا. Do you want us to tell you, shall we tell you of those people who have lost? No. He says, shall we tell you of those who lose most in respect of their deeds? Those whose efforts have been wasted in this life while they thought that they were acquiring good work. They think they were doing good. They think they are doing good in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But those are the ones who are the losers. And most of the time, when maybe we're in the office or we are relating with other people on a personal level, the way we behave, we started well with them, but later on we started becoming overconfident. We started becoming too lousy. We don't know that we are lousy because we think we are confident. And at the end of the day, other people see our talent. They see, this person, he has come again. They don't want to see you. When you are there, they see you as a problem. But because they don't know, they don't want to tell you so that you not feel offended. But your overconfidence has become a problem to them. But you don't know. So ego is a strong motivator, and it can go out of control. Too much of ego, too much of confidence becomes what? Overconfidence. When you are too enthusiastic, you become overzealous. It becomes a problem. And the same thing leads to arrogance. Too little confidence, leads to timidity. If you are not confident enough, you'll be timid. And that's a problem in itself also. Because if you are too timid, you will find it very difficult to relate with people. You will find it very difficult, even if you are knowledgeable about something, to come out and talk about it. Why? Because you'll be feeling shy, you'll be feeling timid. So, same thing, cowardice. You find it difficult. When you see somebody being cheated, instead of summoning your courage to go and help the person, what happens? I should not do that. Because I can't fight the person. You are afraid. You start losing courage. So sometimes confidence is good. Ego in balance is very good. But when it goes off balance, it becomes very problematic for somebody. Either way, either too much or too little. So it's a balanced ego that is good. So the same thing, you start having inferiority complex when you have too little ego, and you have lack of confidence also. But as we said, the opposite of too much ego sometimes is not too much confidence is not, or overconfidence is not lack of confidence sometimes. Sometimes you don't know. When you say, what is the opposite of confidence? Sometimes it's not too much confidence. Sometimes it's not too little confidence. Sometimes it's overconfidence. Sometimes it's too little confidence. But the problem is, most of the time you don't know. You don't know which level of confidence you have. It's other people that start noticing, that you are becoming too overconfident on this issue. So you have to be very, very cautious. So ego in balance, courage. There's nothing wrong in being courageous. There's nothing wrong in being confident, in having dignity and integrity. But having too much dignity is a problem. Having too little dignity is a problem also. But having a balanced dignity is good. Having a balanced integrity is good. Too little courage is not good. Too much courage you will end up in a problem. Because when you have too much courage, you will even want to go to places where even shaitan will be afraid of going to. You say, I can go there. Don't worry, I'm courageous. I can do this. I can do that. Which is very, very dangerous also. No.
Do you have such thing as too much integrity?
Too much integrity.
Do you have that?
Sometimes, when somebody starts feelings, our integrity, and he makes it, he blows it up more than necessary. Every simple thing, like he doesn't want to compromise on some things, in some areas where you have to compromise because of the situation in which you have to compromise on something. Why? Because if you don't compromise at that time, it may lead to some other problem. Somebody will tell you, take an example. Like, look, I have my integrity as a Muslim. The level I am in the society, I should not be seen, doing certain kind of things. But under normal circumstances, no problem. But because of the level in which you are, the situation, a new situation in which you find yourself, like, I should not be eating pork. Yes, you can eat pork. Nobody will agree with you as a Muslim to eat pork. But when you find yourself in a situation of darura, where that's the only thing you can eat, and if you don't eat it, it will lead to your weakness. You become so much weak that you will find it difficult to go and look for food later. And that's the only thing you can eat. And at that time, there's no way for you to go and look for food somewhere. And that's the only thing you can eat, so that you gain more energy to go and eat somewhere. And say, no, with my integrity, I don't want to do this. I can't eat it. I rather die as a shaheed. Who tell you you're a shaheed? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you eat it at that time, it's halal for you. So you are refusing halal, you want to die, which is haram, like killing yourself. So that's too much integrity. You are putting too much integrity on your Islam. But Allah has opened the gate for you that at that time, because of the difficulty in which you are finding yourself, eat it, no problem. So you can eat it actually. Forget about integrity in this time. It's actually part of your integrity, but that's a balanced integrity. So some people will tell you, no, I will never shift ground. And I will never shift ground. I will never change position. If I say this, that's the only thing I will do. And he finds himself in another situation. He finds himself in another situation where he has to change some things. And because he has said it before, no. People will be saying, I said, no, he doesn't want to change. Because of that, he loses a lot of better opportunities. So, now, there are symptoms of egos. How do you know your ego is going off balance? Things to look at. Number one, showcasing the gift of Allah. Brilliance. I'm very brilliant. This. You have to be very, very careful. The moment you start seeing this kind of thing, you see somebody who wants to showcase, I have money, I have wealth, I have everything. Being defensive, seeking acceptance of other and social comparison. Now, some gifts can be tempting. They can lead you into temptation, into serious problem. I'm wealthy, because I have money. Because you are wealthy, there are certain kind of food you want to eat. You can't just eat any kind of food. You have some special ikan bakar that is for wealthy people, not just for everybody. And that's the only thing you want to eat. So you can eat, sometimes you feel like because of the level of wealth you have, there are some restaurants, I will never enter this kind of restaurant, and it can be a problem sometimes. It's a sign of a symptoms of ego. Is it beauty? Is it knowledge? And sometimes you don't want to listen to other people. You feel that you are the only person that knows something. Wanting to win argument. You always want to argue with people and win them in the argument, not to change their mind, not to show them the truth. Always talking, showing exception, even in areas of common ground. If everybody agrees, we all agree, yes. Clear, yes. But he will always come out and say, no, there is exception in this area. When we say there's no problem, yes. But, always wanting to show exception, criticism, which is usually not constructive, and nobody is good attitude. To him, nobody is good. Nobody is good. He's the only person that is good. The moment you start feeling like that, then there is a problem. So, being defensive, difference between defending idea and defensive. There's a difference. Sometimes you defend an idea, sometimes you are defensive. There's a difference between that. When you defend an idea, you are constructive, you want to, no, this is right, and you have evidence to show that it's right. But being defensive, you always think somebody is talking. Whenever somebody is saying something, you always think he's talking about you. And that's a problem. And not accepting you are wrong. You are never wrong, you are always right. Whenever somebody says something, you want to prove that you are right. Even if you are wrong, you always want to find a way of rationalizing what you are saying. So finding fault in other people. And there are some people, one of the signs of being defensive is when I ask you, when last did you say sorry to somebody? You know, some people can never remember. They've never said sorry. They've never said sorry to people. You know, why? Because they are always right. You know, they are always, they never hurt people. You know, it is only them that can be hurt. So, and excusology, when you tell them, somebody comes and say, why are you late? Why am I late? Is it only today I'm late? Yesterday I came on time, you didn't say anything. Day before yesterday I came on time, you didn't say anything. And then look at this other person. He came late, you didn't talk. We are not talking about them. We are not talking about yesterday. We are talking about now. Why are you late now? But why is it that it's every time? Why am I the only one you singled out? You know, so he always wants to find excuse, which is a problem also. You know, never wanting to. And you know, when you ask him, when you ask somebody, what are your weaknesses? Say, weaknesses. In fact, I can't think of any. You can't think of any? That person has problem. You know, and when you tell him, he's been able to list some of his weaknesses, and you tell him, so how do you think you can improve on this? You know, nobody is perfect. Only God is perfect. You know, he wants to continue like that. It's a problem also. You have seeking acceptance of others. You know, you have people, they want, whatever other people want is what they want. Then that's a sign of ego also, a low ego. You know, you don't have the mind of yourself. You know, if you will do something that will upset other people, even if it is the right thing, because you want to gain acceptance from them, then you stop doing it, even if it is the right thing to do. You know, because of other people, you don't want to do it. You know, and social comparison. You know, comparing yourself with other people, always comparing yourself with other people. So, and three elements we can have to counter. You know, when you see signs of symptoms of ego in you, you know, there are three things you can consider: humility, curiosity, and sincerity. You know, because with humility, you always see yourself as not doing enough. You always see that, I've not done enough. I need to help people. I need to do this. I need to do that. You know, and it will motivate you to want to help people. Curiosity, you know, you want to know what are your weaknesses. You know, what is the latest in terms of knowledge? What is the latest? You know, you don't feel like I've known everything. I've done my PhD on this issue. There's nothing new to learn again. And sincerity also. You know, how to be sincere. You know, whatever you do it with full sincerity, not because you want to please others, but because that's the right thing to do, and that's the truth to follow. And you do it, and you follow whatever your mind is telling you to do. I think these are the last things, just an explanation. So those are the ways, you know, 3 ways of managing your ego: humility, curiosity, and sincerity. You know, so because you want to know what are your weaknesses, and you want to know find ways of solving them. So I'd like to stop here. Jazakumullahu khairan for your patience. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.